Okay, y'all, here's a little demo of the homework number 7, the creation of a Halloween mask. And the requirements here are to create a 12 by 18 inch image at 300 ppi, pixels per inch. It could be horizontal or vertical. And in class, you basically laid out the measurements of your face, and we're just going to sort of build on top of that. Now I've locked the the template of my face. I'm actually going to do something real quick, which is I'm going to just bring the eyes onto a different layer. Oops. Actually, let me use a magic wand and just select the eyes. And the nose. Do I need the nose? Not really. I'm going to subtract that. And bring them onto a new layer that I'll put up front. And make them, just for the moment, I'll make the eyes red. And I've gone to a new layer on the top. Oops, I to go red. Okay, so now I have my eyes up top here. I'm going to create another layer, which will be my work layer. That's empty. And I brought my badger in here, not to actually use for the mask, but to be my inspiration. Now you can just make up a mask from scratch for this assignment, or you can use some kind of photographic inspiration or inspiration from somewhere else if you want to do some manga character, whatever. You can do Pokemon up the wazoo, but just you can't use the literal image that you pulled from online. You have to build it out of texture and gradient. And gradients are good for manga and that kind of character. I'm going to start off by pulling in a texture. I had some textures. Yeah, I have this illicit texture, which is the name of it, but it's actually just simple sage that I bought from a store. I'm going to use a sage as the kind of furry texture. Let's actually just transform this sage. Maybe I want him to be, as long as it fits on the page, it can be bigger than your face. You probably want it larger than your face so that it covers. I'm now going to adjust, which has some of the best of both worlds of the brightness and color balance. Give it a try. Hue and saturation. Though I meant to grab color balance. How much? Ooh. It's probably good. Could have done that kind of thing with brightness, contrast, or whatnot. And now I'm just going to cut out the basic shape. I'm going to avoid the ears because I'm going to do them a different way. Uh-oh. Okay, that's kind of good. I want to get rid of that little mistake I made. Okay, now I'm going to go to my move tool to confirm the selection. Although I don't even need to do that because I'm going to turn that into a layer mask. There we are. And it doesn't cover my face totally, but I'm thoughtful about where it is in relation to my eyes. Okay, so that's all familiar to you guys. I'm just going to save it as I go. As you've noticed, the file sizes get larger. I'm going to show you a gradient. I think I'm going to do like gradient nose, gradient ears. I'm probably not going to, the eyes are probably going to be different too. Although you're not going to be around for all that because who wants to sit with me forever? So for the nose, no, for the ears, let's go ears. I'm just going to start off with a simple gradient. And now, again, gradient The hotkey on the keyboard is G, but it sits on top of the paint bucket. And look at this here. I'm gonna get a different gradient. When you choose gradient, you can click up top at the colors, and that'll allow you to adjust what colors the gradients are. So I don't want such a bright red. I'm actually just I'm gonna try to go pretty naturalistic with this one. But a little more saturated. We'll go from there to, I sort of like that color. I'm gonna just go a little more naturalistic, but still nice and warm. So there I have a cool transition, and I can move this little ball to show like how sharply the transition is. Also, if I click up here, that can choose the opacity. So you can fade off into transparent, and you can see these little presets up here that you can manipulate at your leisure. I'm just going to go ahead and do this. And it might take a minute on my slow computer to figure all those things out. Now look at that. What a pain in the neck. I'm going to do it again, actually. It's not exactly what I want. Okay, I got that. Now I'm just going to create a layer mask of it. No big whoop. In the shape of the ear. Okay, I made my selection. Now I go back down here, and it's just the same thing as with the texture. And now we have a little ear. Now if you want, you can click on this layer. Make sure you have the actual imagery selected. You can always go back in and redo it. The thing with the gradient is, if you make the line longer, it makes the whole gradation of color, as in gradient, a little wider. Like the line you're drawing is the full gradation of color and how much room that's going to take up. It can take up the whole composition board, or it can just be really, really close like this, and you can see that the line of gradation it's very tight. This finishes. You see? So you have a lot of control there. But this gradient tool is actually very useful when you're looking to create kind of natural looking manipulations to photographs, and more on that later. But for now, we just want to try it out, and I can just move this around. I can create a second one that can then be rotated. One thing about using masks like this, the transformations, those bounding boxes become a little complicated that you can bring into this conversation. And now you don't have to do a complete composition here. I might bring a few, an additional texture to designate those black stripes. You can be a little more basic with your gradient if you want. Let's see if I can actually accomplish the feat of making a new layer. Okay. Trying to go for the elliptical marquee, please. I'm going to make some nice, well, I guess I'll just go with the nose. I was kind of thinking I wanted big puffy cheeks, but he doesn't seem to have puffy cheeks, does he? You could even start out with a selection and then just make the gradient happen inside of that. That's not a layer mask. I would like you to use some layer masks, but feel free to do that for some of your content if it's getting into a lot of layers and whatnot. Once again, you also have the ability to change the color balance and whatnot. But let's also just go once more over this blending option thing. Let's let the nose drop a shadow. The nose probably wants to have some kind of shadow. I don't like that color. It's too cold and unfamiliar. Anyone to, you know, be totally a master of like three-dimensional construction here. So it's really just if it's something that interests you. It can be a mask in one piece, you know. But if you want the parts, even if they're a single printed out form, to stand out from one another, you can create these drop shadows, you know, an outer glow. Not that you want all of them in one, but you know, you can. An outer glow is an alternate, that kind of thing. You know, you can have like a fire-breathing, you know, dragon character who's sort of floating, you know, patches of skin are kind of like charged with volcanic fire or something like that, simply by giving the thing a supernatural glow, a greenish or a reddish, you know. And these things are defined by layer. Another thing that some of you all already know about is that each layer, aside from blending option, it can have a blending mode. And that's actually up here in the layers palette. And these things, you can play with them. It just affects how the thing will blend with the layers beneath it. You know, the normal mode is just for it to be opaque and leave it at that. But you could find that, you know, as with whose was it, Alicia's spoons, there was something really cool in the way that they visually mixed. It wasn't simply, I guess, that the layer was transparent. Oh, that kind of nestles its way into the fur, right? You see the left ear, the way it nestled into the fur. Okay, so you can try out these different blending modes. There's never a hard and fast rule for those, you know. But once again, you can, you know, you can also, of course, adjust the opacity or transparency of the layer. So you could kind of build different layers of textures up into like a kind of structural face that can become very like volumetric, three-dimensional looking. I'm not going to take the time to do that at this moment, although who can resist? You know, hard to resist. And there are things like this. I mean, maybe this badger. I mean, if the badger wants some hair, he wants some hair. Who knows? But you know, say you had a problem like this, that would simplify your work, right? So now the layers on multiply by square, and just like make that a little more organic in shape. And I have like a nice emo badger. Does he want hair on only one side, or maybe he just wants the whole emo look? I don't know if I wanted that many. Okay, so this is crap, but you know, you can do better than me.